Okay, I just spent so much time trying to manage my hair. It was raining today, and also I played with steam today at work, so my hair kind of frizzed up. But I don't know why I've been called to just like press record, because I just have a lot in my mind right now, and I don't know. I just wanted to start recording again. I also have my oracle cards here. I didn't really like fully meditate or anything. I'm just constantly thinking in my head again. And I've been having conversations and just had like a bigger picture moment earlier in my journal. It's about, I don't even know what I'm gonna title this, but there's two things that's been on my mind heavy, right? I'm learning to let what I feel and know be all that I need, you know what I mean? Needing to stop seeking people to kind of like confirm my reality for me, almost kind of like validating what I'm feeling. And you know what I mean, outside of like tarot or something. Like this is just this is the kind of confirmation, not even just confirmation, it's more of, sometimes it's confirmation, sometimes it's just, it's helping me like ground myself, basically. Meaning whenever I do feel myself kind of like getting too caught in doubt or confusion, this can really, these cards specifically, like great like reminders for me, and for me to like come back to what I know of myself. Hopefully this all ties up later, because I didn't outline anything. I'm just talking on a whim. But I have been talking a lot recently about reaching like this new level of like self-acceptance and stuff. This is gonna kill me, but whatever, it's here. Reaching this new level of like self-acceptance, you know, self-assurance and confidence within myself about what I know, what I like, who I am, and not feeling like I need to change who I am, or not feeling like I'm too different to be included in certain spaces, or to like, you know, I don't fit like in a certain box or in a certain perspective or whatever. I don't fit in any of that. So I've been really like trying to reach a level where I don't like, where nothing phases me about what people may say about who I am, or assume about what I like, what I'm into, why I'm going after certain things, you know what I'm saying? For instance, I was just recently talking with someone about like my plan for my life, right? And not as far as like having it planned out to a T, but like my plan for my life as far as like how I want it to go, or like, you know, what I want to pursue next for the next phase of my life, at least, and how I want it to, like, what I want my main focus around work and career and just lifestyle to be about, and my plan of on getting there. For instance, like say if I'm someone who prioritizes freedom over anything else, right? And I do not believe that I am meant to be working a normal like 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life. Like I have always resented that ideology for myself since I graduated high school. Once I got a little taste of it, it never sat right with my spirit. There's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5. If you enjoy it, then you do that, you know, but and it's not saying that I won't ever clock in again, but like I just don't, it's not something that I was made for, you know. And I'm learning to like accept that for myself, because like I was someone who would try to like convince other people, you know, to like, you know, follow their own path or something, or, you know, maybe like, you know, try and like not be so bound to a job or something, or, you know, not just like up and quit, but like, you know, work towards like not really needing to rely on like one thing, a job, or like basically build a life where they're able to have like a great like work-life balance or something. And for me, like I've butt heads with people because, even made probably some enemies, because I just didn't accept that like not everybody feels like they want that. Like they want to have a life where they can just like wake up and do whatever they want and not have to feel obligated, you know, to or bound to a job or any situation that like doesn't really allow them to have any autonomy or say so about how they like operate in an establishment. For example, like I've been watching The Crown recently, and I reached a part where in The Crown, I think it's like season 3, like it's Elizabeth is a little older, she's like middle age, and the king that was supposed to be king, and then whoever his children were supposed to be heirs to the throne, he abdicated, and his brother, which is like Elizabeth's dad, you know, succeeded to the throne, meaning that Elizabeth was then going to be the queen, which she was. So I'm in that part of the series where he is about to pass. Like, I don't know if it's King David or King George, but the one that abdicated the throne, he's about to die, and Elizabeth is like well into her years of being queen already. And he did like this interview. Now this guy wasn't like, we're not going to get into like the politics of him. It's just the ideology of like the monarchy. It's kind of like, it's not the only place on the planet that like, or system on the planet that operates like this. It's kind of like the entire society almost. But I feel like we're shifting to a new dawn or a new day. We're in this, and I'm gonna just be like shuffling cards as I do this because it helps me think. I'm in this season, and he's about to pass, and he does this interview where he talks about like his reasonings why he was pressured into abdicating, or felt like he had no choice but to leave, and he was kind of exiled, right? Because like the whole country saw him as a disgrace. Like, why did you just let go of that? You know what I mean? Because whatever. But and it's not saying that like you learn that he really didn't, it's not the fact that he didn't want to be king or that he didn't want to deal with the pressures of it. It was more so they were requiring him to be someone who he wasn't. Like, he wanted to stay true to who he was, right? And this was before the war, by the way. But he ended up abdicating because he was he had his own opinions, own way of thinking, own way of like seeing things. He was a little bit more progressive compared to his the monarchy represents like they're really big on like structure. There's nothing wrong with structure, but they're really big on tradition and following things like by the book, right? So it basically means like your life is kind of set out for you, right? You know, and it's just like you have power, but you don't really have much, if that makes sense. So speaking up or like expressing new ideas, new anything, any type of progressive thinking that kind of challenges and you probably learn this from like history, especially if we're talking about like the whole beef between like science and religion in Europe back then. But think of like the status quo, basically. Like in the monarchy, they have to really follow things by a book. If you're kind of ingrained with this like belief system, and you have to kind of stick to that, and because you represent something like, you know, bigger, right? And it's, you know, they're trying their hardest to stick to tradition. So anyone that brings any type of new idea, forward thinking, anything that would shake or challenge their like beliefs, or any sign of change would be seen as like a threat, you know what I mean? And they would literally, you hear throughout the entire series that like people who, like a lot of the controversial moments where people who were kind of like trying to enforce like a new like belief, or a new, like they were just challenging their belief system in a certain way, right? So that like whenever anything would like, you know, shake up like that, like they will literally be afraid of the entire monarchy falling apart, because they were basically holding on to like an illusion, right? In a sense. They were clinging on to something so tightly that it was like it'll distort the whole reality. It'll disprove whatever truth they were trying to like whatever the universe or whatever society was trying to let them know of, right? And so I'm just trying to, it's making me think of like a tower moment, right? So how do I tie this together? Like, imagine like a workplace, imagine home, people who grew up in homes that were kind of like monarchies in a sense. You grew up in a very traditional Christian or heavy religious like household, right? And they instilled you with all these beliefs or whatever, and anything outside of the book was seen as sin or negative or, you know, whatever. And how do I say it? Like, so like embracing someone deciding to stick to who they are, you know, or, you know, adopt their own beliefs or maintain their own autonomy, and even decide that they're going to develop their own relationship with God in some way, or however it may look to them. It shakes up a lot of people's like realities for some reason. And I'm not saying I'm like excluded from this type of scenario either, you know, because, you know, it's like, again, it's like a tower moment. Like you're building something, or you have this belief system or this foundation that you've been like building your entire life on, and then someone comes in and you're just like speaking something else, and it's just making you seem like this is crazy, you know what I mean? Like I can't be having this, you know? And because it means they will have to kind of like accept something else, right? Which is hard. And a lot of people, like everyone struggles with this in some way, shape, or form. The reason I'm bringing it up is because like going back to the king, he was very individualistic basically, and he, no matter what, even though his entire family, his entire country saw him as a disgrace for deciding to live life on his own terms, even if that meant having to, you know, give up the throne or whatever, because, you know, he didn't really want to leave the position because it was like, oh, it's too overwhelming. It was just, they were denying him who he was. Like he was denied a lot of things that really made him who he was. And whether it be the person he was in love with, or whether it be, like I said, his thinking. And so it's just making me think of it within the same season. Like before he passes, Charles, who is now the king now, but back then he was the prince, and during that time he did have some type of forward thinking, progressive thinking, than his mother's generation and the one before. But he was writing to the former king about, like, you know, his belief system and stuff like that, and how he was like, he was making sure that he would eventually like be able to be on the throne, but on his own terms. Like he can have like who he wanted to be with and all of these other things. Like he still wanted to like have himself while being king, if that makes sense, instead of having to give all of that up. Because Queen Elizabeth is essentially, like, you see her throughout the entire like series, she's just wondering like how much like life would have been so different for her if she didn't have to give up this because of that. And she kind of like, at least in the series, I don't know if the real queen was like this, but like she kind of like not praises herself, but like that's like a lot of her validation comes from all of that sacrifice that she gave. And I believe and for people before her as well, like any sign of like, you know, progression or something, it would basically be thrown back in her face that like you didn't have to give that up to be the queen. You know what I mean? Like whether it be like being with like, let me just say, being with Portia instead of Philip. And even though she didn't really like, wasn't in love with Portia, she actually did have eyes for Philip. But it was like, imagine if like that happened, or imagine if she still fought to be like a little bit more free in her role. You know what I mean? So when everyone else is like, you know, fighting back against it, and like people before her are trying to like, it's like remind her of tradition, and this is how you do it, this is how it's always been done, like she will like of course go with them, but like it'll just cause more problems down the line. But I don't know what am I trying to say here, but the queen is just like, she represents something. She represents like what I've been dealing with recently. Like I feel like if I want to use the scenario, and again, I'm not saying I'm a fan of all of these people, whatever, but just from the show, what I've been seeing is how like, it's basically a message of how like you will literally experience discomfort or even exile or isolation because people aren't able to handle the reality that like they didn't have to give up parts of themselves in order to still have a certain life or a certain well, whether it be anything, like they didn't have to give it up, whether it be their time, whatever. Like there's a way where we can still show up for our role, right? And in society, wherever it may be, we can still show up for our role, but we can still also be very like true to ourselves, right? So I think I'm getting on authenticity, and I'm going to use a more two examples, one being in the home and one being outside, like at work or something. Because like at home, again, I grew up in a very like religious family, but at 13 I decided like, it's not even the hypocrisy that got the best of me, of seeing too much, but at 13 I just decided that I didn't want to be like into Christianity. But as I got older, I understood like there, like, you know, I started developing my own understanding of God, and what that meant, and how God isn't a God you should fear, and all of that stuff, and how like he speaks in different ways, or like learning the actual like belief about God and stuff like that. And I developed it on my own, you know. So that means I can do tarot, and I can read a Bible, and I can read a Quran, you know what I'm saying? And I can take what I need from it and leave the rest. You know, whatever doesn't, like, you can tell what was written for control versus what was written to show you who you are, you know what I mean? Who you really are. And of course, I've been made fun of in family. I've been literally called demonic for being into tarot. I'm even into astrology, and even as I'm speaking, like, I started wearing my moon necklace, and then I found this cross necklace. I just found it, and no one was picking it up, and it was like I kept walking past it. So I was like, the next day, I walked past it. I was walking past it for like a week, and I was like, if no one picks this up, I'm gonna just go home, disinfect it, and start wearing it, because it's like, why not? So it's like I wear both, and it's like a symbol of like being able to understand, like, you know, accept like two. They essentially taught me the same thing, like the meanings of both. They essentially do the same thing for me and whatnot. But yeah, so speaking of like Queen Elizabeth or whatever, and just in general, I want to say deconditioning, because, and if you're in a human design, you know what I mean. But most of us have been kind of like brainwashed into the like Queen Elizabeth like approach to life, if that makes sense. Thinking things have to be a specific way, and in order for, I'm trying, y'all, but essentially what I was saying was like I would be meeting whenever I would go to like other people about like my dreams or my aspirations or like my goals or whatever, and these people have only lived a certain type of lifestyle, and they like anything else kind of shakes their like perception, their reality. They kind of like you know, they just don't want to like, you know, accept the fact, you know, like there's different ways to go about living life outside of like what you've been told, which is a lot of people before our generation, Gen Z, is like a lot of people, the generation two before us have been told two things, or one kind of like specific path. What was like, you know, grow up, go to school, get a job, you know, work at that job 30, 40 years, retire, then you can live your life. As opposed to us, like our generation now is kind of like we can live our life while we pursue these dreams. We can do all of this now. We don't have to wait until 65 to finally take that trip, or we don't have to like stay at one job for 10 years and hope that they give us, you know, a livable wage eventually. It's kind of like you gotta, you know, we can go like, you know, we can shake things up a little bit and go after what we want and have what we want genuinely. And it's not even necessarily about like being delusional. I guess you gotta kind of be a little delusional, because some of us, our dreams are delusional to people who haven't dreamed ever. People who don't dream at all, like they don't kind of like realize like you bring them any type of dream. Like for instance, I like to write music. I like to rap, and I like to whatever, and I genuinely want to make some type of career out of it. And I understand like I'm removing the expectation of like this whole like blowing up overnight type shit, or you know what I mean, like about that. But I've met people, other artists, who are actively living this lifestyle of being a musician, and they make double, triple what people make at a regular 9 to 5 with a 4-year degree, but you may not know them, right? Because they're not super mega like famous. But at the same time, they still have the career of their dreams, and they have the family, they have, you know, what they want. But people who haven't seen that don't understand that. And so whenever I'm coming to people talking about like, oh, I want to be a rapper, they're thinking like, this bitch thinks she's trying to be, you know what I mean? Like, they still think that our dreams are based on just pure luck only, and that is actually capable for you to build a fan base nowadays and actually have your dream career without needing to have this big break anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not good or bad if you do or don't have that, but it's just like, you know, they don't really understand that. And it's going back to like, I'm having this moment of where I'm like, I want to say it's kind of like stepping out of like my Queen Elizabeth kind of conditioning, you know what I mean? This type of like, whatever I grew up under, habits, belief systems, and ways of operating. Like, this is what I started this whole video off about, like learning to be like, trust myself more, because it's like I'm being taught, like, not by anyone specifically, but just in my reality, just like where I'm going next and stuff like that. I'm being taught that I need to just really trust like what I know and develop my own, like, just really follow through and not needing to have anyone else understand me before I like can give myself the permission to go after it. Like, I don't need anyone else to think my idea or my aspirations, whatever, like I don't need it to make sense to them anymore. And it's just like, yeah, I don't need it to make sense anymore to other people. And I've been doing that a lot. That's kind of what slowed me down a lot, is because I would, you know, express like what I wanted to do with myself to other people, and they would shut it down, because to them, like they would try to kind of get me to fall in line a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, hey, follow this route because it worked for me and I know it's guaranteed. It's kind of like, you know how people go to school based off of picking like a practical degree, and they don't even love what they do, but they know it's going to bring them money. And everybody I have ever met who has ever, me personally, who I have ever met who has ever went and got a degree based off of what their parents told them, and because of how practical it seemed it was going to be. For instance, a lot of people got into IT a couple years ago. Like, it was like IT was the thing because, you know, technology was changing over like the late 2000s and 2010s and stuff like that. A lot of people went to college for IT and did well, but I'm starting to see a lot of IT people get knocked out of their positions because of AI, right? So it's not even about it being like practical, but it's just like the decisions we're told to make. Because, you know, I was told to go to nursing school instead of going after something that I love because it was practical. But I've run into nurses who were miserable because they like were at this job that they, not saying they don't love it, but like they picked it based off the money that is guaranteed, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you know what you're signing up for and don't complain when you have to do the work, you know? But for me, I'm somebody who I have to know why I'm doing it, what I'm doing it for. It cannot just be for money, you know? But that's a major like belief or conditioning that like a lot of people have, especially people who have like grown up in that, you know, like, you know, if you've been living in the world for the past like 30 years, then like you most likely really struggle with that belief system. And it's like, I'm not saying that we don't have to work like regular jobs as we go towards like our dreams or whatever, but it's like, you know, like, we don't have to settle. You know, we don't have to, like, sacrifice things unless you're a mother, you know. We don't have to, like, sacrifice ourselves anymore or sell ourselves out anymore in order to just, like, live, you know. There is a way to have your bills be paid and you get up and actually look forward to what you're going to go do for the day in order to get paid, whether it be showing up on YouTube, whether it be doing lashes, whether it be doing hair, music, whatever. Like, it's so much more available to people nowadays, and I've been trying to preach that to people who have been living the old reality, the old truth for the past 20 years or the past, like, their entire lives basically. And you bringing that to people, bringing that thing into people, and actually, like, demonstrating that to people has it wakes something up. It wakes something up, like, in people, you know. Yeah, I just got a text and I'm like, I had to make a decision earlier, but anyway, it wakes people up, and sometimes it's a good waking up, and sometimes it's a negative waking up, and more times it's going to be a negative one. I had to learn, like, not everybody is ready to, like, hear that, or, you know, like, people will push back against that, and I can't bring that to people who aren't ready to hear it, you know, and or actually see it being proven to them. That's something that, like, that is a very, like, real thing, like, experiencing people trying to, like, they see you progressing, they see you actually doing these certain things, and they actually want you to, like, trip over yourself, and kind of, you know, when you mess up, you kind of, like, it kind of proves to them, like, haha, like, look, I knew she couldn't do it. I knew she, like, it kind of helps, in a sick way, helps them feel good about the path that they chose in life. You know what I mean? And feel like, yeah, I knew it wasn't for everybody. I knew it wasn't, like I knew, like, if I can't do it, who is she to think she can do it, you know? And it's not, you know, an arrogant thing to believe, you know? It's not arrogance to believe in yourself in that way. And I even said earlier today, I don't know why I feel like I need to say this now, but I feel like if you tell yourself something is impossible, it will always be impossible. I've been watching Bob Proctor. I don't know if I got that quote from him. My dad used to grow up, like, when I grew up a lot, my dad used to hate when we said the word can't. You can't, like, don't say you can't, don't say you can't, don't say you can't, you know what I mean? And so, like, he used to get pissed off when we say that shit. So, I don't know, like, and I grew up on the Brandy and Cinderella, the impossible. So, like, I've always been, like, battling these, like, two belief systems, you know what I mean? Like, I know I can do what I see for myself, you know what I mean? I know I can have what I want. I know I can have it all. I can have the family. I can have the career of my dreams, whatever it may be for me. I can support myself off of what I want and everything, and it is possible. It's like, you don't always know how it's going to pan out. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know, like, it's a lot of unknowns when it comes to, like, making that decision or coming to that understanding. But it's like, we're seeing it happen. Like, for us, and for people who are, like, my age, at least, like, we are watching people's lives change in the almost, I don't even want to say, I'm gonna say blink of an eye, like an exaggeration, but we're literally seeing people's lives change like this, like, so fast. And it's not that they never have to put work in. It's not like them, you know, thinking this. It's not wishful thinking anymore. It's like people are showing up as themselves, doing what they love, sharing their own thoughts, whatever, and they're building, like, they're connecting to people. This internet shit can reach people like, thinking about it is like blowing my mind. It's so, like, this little phone, bro, can get someone out of fucking poverty. Like, just, you know what I mean? Again, it's not always overnight for people, but it's like, it can literally change your fucking life. And it's like, you don't have to sell out in order to live a good life anymore. You know what I mean? You don't have to wait until you're 65. You don't have to wait until you inherit some money or win the lottery or finally hit six figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can literally call in your people who understand you and all of that, like, to you based off of just showing up and pressing fucking record. Like, and as far as like learning how to be myself or just being comfortable in my skin, cozy up in my end. But being comfortable with like who I am, like, I really had to come to this. I faced a lot of rejection for being like who I am within my family, within even whether I'm at school, whether it's at high school, trade school, college, like work. Like, I faced so much rejection, and it took me years to finally come to the understanding that, like, I don't even growing up, like, I faced a lot of like situations where my confidence was tried, like, people wanted to run it over, bro. Like, it's just, how dare you think other than everyone else? Like, how dare you think you can survive, or not survive, how dare you think you can just like shine? Well, how do you think you can just turn on the camera and share your gifts and think that it's worth something? How dare you? It's just like, how dare you? It's just like, and it's like any moment, or just me expressing myself, or just calling out the fucking truth, whatever. Like, I'm not perfect, bro, but it's just like, I was really writing in my journal. It's like, bro, everything I've been through has been a test to my confidence. Like, I had to build my shit up from the ground up, like, time and time again, because it's like, I couldn't understand that these people weren't telling me who I was. They were trying to make themselves feel better about what they accepted themselves to be. Hope that makes sense. Like, I am okay with reading tarot in public. I'm okay with pulling my cards out at work. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like, you know, reading the Bible, or if you're Muslim, whatever, that's acceptable at workplaces now. Like, I'm not saying people don't still face discrimination. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's like, I pull out a deck of tarot cards. It don't matter what religion, whether they got, you know, they got a cross or hijab. I was being looked at like some demonic bitch. You feel me? That's the type of shit. And I'm like, I have the courage to do shit like that, you know? And I'm not the only one. Like, I had a family member one time say to me, because I believe I could be on the spectrum. Like, people kind of, I do STEM. Like, this is how I think. Like, if you see me in public or something and I'm thinking I'm going to play with my lip, I literally have watched people kind of like look at me like I'm odd, because like, why do you do that? You know, like, that's not normal. And it's like, you know, what is normal? Like, you know what I mean? I'm stemming. I'm so open about me having ADHD. So it's like, people think it's a trend or whatever to have ADHD or possibly autism or something. But like, they think it's all cutesy until they meet a bitch who like really be stemming and shit. And like, be like, why do you do that? Like, you know, like, this shit not no joke for me. Like, I'm a weird bitch and I'm okay with that, you know? And it's that weird swag. Real money. Weird bitches put me near that. But yeah, like, I'm just like, so many people have tried to like, you know, force me back into that box. And it just all came from a conversation that I had recently where I was like trying to explain my vision to someone, and they were just like, you know, I'm very multifaceted. I was even using ChatGPT to figure this out, because like, I'm very like, you know, I'm into tarot, I'm into astrology, I'm into aesthetics, I do lashes, I do this and that, and whatever. I paint, I like DJing, I like dancing, I like doing this. And it's just like, okay, a jack of all trades, a master of none almost. But it's like, I had to start understanding that, okay, look, Like maybe I can't monetize every like gift or every like passion, but so that took me some years to figure out of how I wanted to like do that in a more like, you know, and still be kind of practical about it. But I hope that makes sense. But I just realized that like I like had to like I've been refusing to be like boxed in, basically. Like, you know, they tell people, like mostly passionate people, to like niche down, right? But we're in an age where it's like you are the niche, like you're the niche, bitch. Like I'm for the people who are also into all of these things at once. You know what I mean? That's who I am, and I'm not like, you know, I know I'm not the only person that's like this, but it's just, you know, when you're in a limited reality because you're only still operating in like the matrix, basically, that of course you're not going to run into people who like, of course, a motherfucker like me isn't always so easy to find. You know what I mean? You know, like it's for some people it's gonna be like, well, that bitch is like, I ain't never seen like that. It's gonna be I'm gonna show up like a unicorn, but I know I'm not a unicorn because I found places, especially in my city. That's why I love this city. It's like there's water in holes for people like me, literally. And you know, I can run, like I've met people, you know, and yeah, there's like, you know, there's people like us. But I don't know, I say all that to say this, like I've been like really like trying to embrace myself more, embrace my uniqueness, and because I keep butting heads with like one parent specifically, and I love him to death, but it's like he's just like, he's trying to guide me the best way he can, and I understand that. But like, you know, I think sometimes parents, like, I'm not even gonna say it's him, but I've had like other figures in my life where they think they're trying to guide me out of love, but they are completely ignoring who I am as a person. You know, they're trying to like guide me as who they are, as who they were, you know what I mean, how they got out of their situation, as opposed to like supporting me on the path that I chose and making sure that I get to where I'm trying to go, or, you know, accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm not even gonna go too deep into that, but yeah, a lot of people who would like, you know, try to help me, but they could be trying to like completely deny who I was. I would have to put everything and who I am on the back burner, you know? And that's just something I can't do. You know what I mean? And I understand, I could see if I was just into spirituality only. But, you know, I've just been made up in a way where if it's not something that I'm very passionate about, something that I like doing, I can do it. It don't matter what is going on in my life. If I'm not passionate about it, that's like the baseline for me to ever stay consistent with anything. If I don't make it fun, I don't make it cute, I don't do too much with it, you know, then I'm not gonna cherish it. I'm not gonna really care for it, you know. And I feel like that's something in Atomic Habits. I didn't really finish that book, but you know, I just say all that to say this, like, please just understand the times that we are going into. And like, if you have people around you who are kicking back, it's because they just don't understand. They really won't understand they don't understand the like nature of like the world like my generation and those coming after us are about to be living in. And it's not even like a doomsday post. This is not saying prep for doomsday, like stocking all the shelves. Like, there's gonna be plenty, you know, for people, but it's a new way of living. It's a new world we're gonna be living in, and like it's that shit not gonna happen based off like, you know, going to school for tech, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with tech. It's just like you're gonna have to master something else with the technology, you know, in order to be able to stay ahead and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of like I was speaking with the same person. Like I said, my dad gets it. He gets it, but not everything. Like, and I have to accept that, you know, because I'd be like that'd be like me having my Taro moments. Like, somebody be challenging me, like, you guys a hater. No, like, no. Like, he gets most of it. Like, my dad is like, he understands, like, we were just talking about, like, the horse and carriage, like, time, right? Where we started to see, like, everyone knew the cars were coming, right? But, like, they're like, yeah, they knew the cars were coming, but what am I trying to say? Like, not everybody was like ready for it, or you know what I'm saying? And I have to go look this up too, but like you can see how quick the transition was from horse and carriage to cars, like during that era, and we're in another similar era like that as well. It's kind of like the other era, like before, like the internet really took over, you know what I mean? Like, things started really picking up, you know? And we're in a new phase of that about to happen, and it's probably going to happen way faster than we really think. And I feel like it started in 2020, I'm not gonna lie to you. But like, because that was like 2020 was like the year where it was as clear as day how like fake everything was, you know what I mean? How like much there is to go around, you know? How like the real way that we're meant to be living, like how like, you know what I mean? Is there's a way we're supposed to be living, you know? And it's not even about like, this is not about not working, y'all. Because that's another thing. When I express like some of my beliefs to certain people, especially people who are workaholics, in a negative sense, they think that like ease or just enjoying having a balanced life is being lazy or not wanting to work. And that's not the case. Because I'm gonna work on things that I love, you know, and I'm gonna put the time and effort into things that I love. Now, for me, I have a different case of needing to focus in on something enough, but even then, I still rebel because I'm still like, I still believe I can combine like two things, you know what I mean? And I feel like I figured it out. I've been doing like, and it's basically just, it won't feel like a burden or a heaviness if you are able to, if it's something that comes naturally to you. For instance, I'm gonna say this, like, I do aesthetics and I like music, so my goal is to do both, right? And I figured out a way for me to still do both. I figured out a way for me to still do both, and with aesthetics being my main thing, you know, and I make music anyway. I like to write anyway. So a blog and some music and just setting that up is nothing. You know what I mean, to me? Because it's like, I do it anyway. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't, like, even if I was working a 40-hour job and already in an established career, I would be doing it anyway. So why not just, like, you know, whatever. So I say all that to say this, like, I'm just learning to not only decondition, but I'm learning to trust myself and trust what I feel and know was right for me. Because I'm someone who would go seek counsel before I make any decision. Like, should I do this? Should I wear this? Should I get down to the pen? Like, should I buy this? Should I do this? Like, which one? Should I do this? And then I realized it didn't come from me not knowing what I wanted. It came from me, like, overanalyzing one, but, like, it came from me like not trusting what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like not trusting what I have already decided that I wanted in life. You know what I mean? And feeling like I needed someone else to validate for me before I can go like after it as hard as I really wanted to, you know? Like I needed someone to tell me like, oh yeah, you can do it. You know, oh yeah, you can be this, you can be that, and still struggle with it because, you know, it didn't really matter. So it's like I just know, and I just need to like, you know, accept it. And I feel like a lot of people, like, the reason why we struggle with like accepting it or accepting what we want and like really going after it, or even finding the courage to figure out what it is that we want, it's because of like who we have to let go of, the identity, like the growth that will have to come with it, the kickback, the disappointment, the exile, the isolation, the mockery, the humiliation, the loneliness, and all of that. Like, we will have to like really face that shit, you know? Face that. Like, no one really wants to put up with like, you know, like not being accepted, right? And I did struggle with that myself. But I also but I also realized that a lot of the people who shun people for, you know, getting up and trying and believing in themselves at some point, or believing that they can do whatever seems impossible to some other people, those people, like, I've literally witnessed somebody literally believe in me, and then when I started showing like signs or whatever, and because I was probably disrupting whoever they were around so bad that they decided, like, you know what, like they couldn't take it, like they couldn't handle what I was like showing them. At first they were open to it, but then like it kind of just, I don't know, it was crazy, but it was like a very like crazy flip. And yeah, that kind of like I don't even, it was very reminiscent of a time that I had with another person in 2014, someone I thought was my friend, and like that person just didn't care, but like I was believing in somebody else and whatever at the time, and I didn't realize that they would get so annoyed with me for expressing my beliefs and being such a fan of somebody and being so inspired by somebody, because whatever, they just like, they didn't know, we were too young to understand what it was at the like at that age. But it's very reminiscent of what I just recently experienced. And like it was all because like I was like like demonstrating something or reflecting something to someone who like didn't think they were able or capable or whatever to be like the person I was aspiring to be. Like, you know what I mean? It was like some type of like, you know how some people say like it's like some people, it's either you're inspired, people like jealousy is like hidden inspiration, like people who are inspired but they don't want to admit it. So like it's like that type of energy, and I learned that energy can be very dangerous to be around too. But it's like that, you know. And that was a crazy experience I had to experience twice. And like, you know, once you decide to like, I'm going to honor myself, I still think I'm capable of having my own like throne, if we're going to use the crown reference again. I'm still capable of being a king or a queen or this person, while still being true to myself. Like, that shakes a lot of people, right? And whether it be good or bad, but it also is like the truth nowadays, you know. And you just have to get to a place of really accepting that shit, because it's very like very dangerous to not do so. And it's like my worst fear is becoming like one of those people that gave up on themselves, because I've seen what it turns into. I've seen what it turns, how, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I've seen what it turned into, and I just don't want to be that, you know? And so I know I have to follow my heart. You know, I have to follow what I feel is good for me. And it doesn't matter if anybody else get it. No one else has to see the vision. Like, stop trying to convince people to see your vision. Stop it. They're not gonna get it. I posted a clip on, like, I post like these little mood board things whenever I feel called to on let me pull a card. Whenever I feel called to on Instagram. And the first video I took, it was some guy on YouTube with a microphone, and he's basically just saying like the same thing. Like, you know, not everyone's gonna get it, bro. Not everyone is gonna get it. And it's like, you have to come to terms with that. You have to be okay with trying and failing in front of everybody. You have to be okay with like being perceived as ditzy, delusional, crazy. You have to be okay with being seen as anything negative, mean. Like, you have to be okay with whatever perception people project onto you, because it's just like, it's bound. You can't control that shit. Like, you can't. And you can't convince everybody. Like, some people, it's two cards. Some people are like, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. But some people aren't like okay with like being weird, and because it's, you have the courage to be who you are loudly, openly, and express yourself as, you know, you have no like, I don't care, I can share things about my past and not feel really like shame about it anymore. Some people think because I'm like that and because I still love myself that I think I'm all that, I think I'm perfect. Like, you have to be okay with accepting shit like that. You have to be okay with people, like, whenever you like set standards for yourself or whatever, you just have a certain belief that they're going to call you judgmental, when it's really not you trying to be judgmental. It's just like, I just prefer this, you know? I prefer to hang around people that like believe like this, and not in a way of like we share the same beliefs to the T, but like, it's like certain mindsets, bro. Like, you cannot build $1 million business when you got like people who are still operating from like a crabs in a barrel type of mindset. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, someone who's trying to go legit, you can't do, you know, like if someone's trying to be like legitimate, and you working with people who all they've done is sneaky, deceptive, like criminal fucking work, like, it's never gonna match, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like trying to lose weight. It's a tarot reader on here that I watched, and she kind of made this like scenario. It's kind of like trying to lose weight and still eat McDonald's, and it's just like, it's just not gonna work, you know? And those people might call you judgmental, but it's for a reason, you know what I mean? For a good reason, you know? And you just gonna have to be okay with looking like the villain. Like, you're gonna have to be okay with that. I'm talking to myself. Like, as harsh as I'm talking to you, like, if you think I'm talking to you harshly, I'm talking to myself, because it's just like, I had to get this into my head. Like, for those in astrology, I'm going through a Pluto moon transit, bro, and I've been having to like deal with some shit, you know? And I don't know how to explain it. It's just, this is what it is. When people say this shit, like, other people are on here on YouTube saying the same shit, it's for a reason. You know what I mean? And just, it's okay to stay true to yourself, bro. We're in Pluto Aquarius, bro. This whole shit about like Pluto Capricorn shit, bro, is dead. Like, this whole like, you know what I mean? Like, this whole, you know, I don't know, like, those people who have followed the status quo, bro, they all end up at the same place on their deathbed. And they all regret not living life the way that they wanted to this whole time. And it's like, I don't want to do that. And that's actually one of my fears that I need to kind of like control just a little bit, because it will have you acting impulsively. You know what I mean? Because you're thinking like, oh, you're running out of time. You're running out of time. Like, you need to like do it now. And it's like, yeah, you know, but like, calm down just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that like never go do it. You know, it's kind of like having like a healthy balance of it, of like, yeah, like I'm gonna go take that trip one day, but I'm not gonna work and just spend my whole first check on it. Like, it's I've literally met people like that, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but you know, or they get things that they want, but it's like they have these things, but they can't, like, they struggle to upkeep. You know what I mean? So I wrote a blog post about this on my blog Niani, where it's like people like have these like houses, right? And beautiful. And I'm only speaking from experience when I say this. Beautiful houses, but they get into it and, you know, they realize it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really what they thought it's not really chalked up to what they like thought it was going to be. And it's actually more of a burden than it is a blessing. Now, there are people out here who have homes, beautiful homes, where it's like they chilling, you know, shit. It's not a burden. It's like I bought this, I work for this, and you know what I mean? Like, even if I do have a mortgage on it, like, I made sure that I don't have to pick up 17 other jobs to be able to pay for it, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I literally was just like, you know, I've been meeting people who have that lifestyle, and it's like, you know, it's like they're not stressing about how to pay for it. They're not burdened by anything. You know, they still have problems, but, you know, whatever. But anyways, getting into the cards, it's just very, very much aligned. This first card came out was number 4. It says, what if your strangeness is actually your brilliance, right? The moon, duality, hidden gem, secret power. This is literally what this entire thing was about. Where is my card? And then the second one is number 8. It says, I'm not underestimating my own magic anymore. And it says power, beginnings, and transformation. I love this deck so much. I bought this deck. I was called to this deck in Barnes & Noble. And I barely even use the tarot cards because, like, I do use tarot cards. Also, I do have these, like, fear cards, right? What fears do you need to face? I have this a lot. I picked this up during this Pluto transit, so, for myself. So it's very on par. Oh, okay. I saw that one, but if it comes out again, but we're going to see it. I'm actually going to do this one. It says, fear has led you here. Change is required. Right? Relinquish your need for control in pursuit of perfection. Your self-imposed boundaries are limiting your opportunities. Yep. And then, don't let your doubts override your excitement. The only limitations before you are those imposed by yourself. So it's like the limits that we do impose on ourselves, like there is the conditioning. And then another thing I want to say is somebody with ADHD, or like, you know, you have some type of neurodivergence that may require you to live life a little differently, and not that you can't live it at all. I've had to come to terms with, like, a lot of us can reside in victim mentality, bro. Whether you want to believe it or not, you know, whether that is too harsh for you to understand or digest, whatever, but it's the truth. For me, I understood that I needed to make money in this life to live. I need money to maintain things. I need money to whatever, but I understand that with my makeup, that, like, I have certain restrictions, like certain things that are just I'm not able to compromise on or just put up with, because I typically never last long. Like, it's never ended out being something where I can, it's never been sustainable for me to be able to just ignore what I need in pursuit of trying to get what I need to live. So I had to figure out what career, what life I wanted, and how I was gonna, like, get there, and how, like, you know, in the most practical way, but it's still resonating with who I am, and it doesn't feel like a burden. It doesn't feel like an obligation. It doesn't feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels natural, you know, and it comes with it on, like, you know, you're able to deal with it on stresses. So for me, like, I figured that out. And that's something I had to come to terms with. And I did that through therapy. I was just like, just speaking, you know, I was just, it all ties back into just needing to learn how, like, who you are, why you want, like, what you want to do, and figuring out how to get there. Because this whole thing about us not being able to work or something, is not that we can't, it's just that we can't do it how people who feel like they don't have anything, any type of creative power, any like power at all, any type of like whatever, like people who can live that, who can do the 40 plus years of just a random job, you know, those people are different than us, you know what I mean? So unless they love it, you know, and like from my experience, I rarely run into people who love what they did at some of the jobs that I worked, as opposed to like where I did, you know, find somebody, you know, I had run into, there was usually jobs that like they were in the arts in some way, shape, or form, whether it be fashion or something else. But yeah, anyways, the moon. This card, I'm gonna have to like cut this video a lot, but whatever. I had deleted a lot of apps off my phone just so I can record this. But number 4, what if your strangeness is actually your brilliance? Like, this is something that's very on par for me. It was one time when this card came out and I was really struggling with like the projections I was being like, you know, thrown upon, and just not feeling enough, not feeling like I was good enough, not like feeling like I had to go like fix myself, like there was something wrong with me, like I couldn't understand why like rejection just really like hit me hard, you know. But like, so I would like literally like shed a tear whenever this would come out, and it was probably when I was really like really down about it. So that's why I love this card, or this deck. I am discovering magic treasure hidden within me. This is the affirmation spell for this card, and it says, pretty sure it's like hella underlined, right? No, it's not. Okay. There's something about yourself or your life that you have been judging harshly. A characteristic, a perceived flaw, personality type, or secret interest that has become an insecurity. Perhaps something that makes you different, something you believe to be a negative in your life. Maybe this thing has caused others to have a negative opinion of you. This has caused you to want to hide or dismiss it. The universe is asking you to read this. I'm like reading faster than I'm speaking. The universe is asking you to reconsider and question this narrative. There is a gem that needs your recognition to shine. Will you polish it, letting it unleash its powers? It has so much to offer and teach you. This weakness you have could actually be your strength. What if it can lead you to a huge awakening? What if this trait that seemingly hinders you actually helps you in a much more profound ways? What if you can learn to embrace and accept and love it instead? Only then can you be fully realized and empowered by it. Often, our gifts may be disguised as trash. We may see our blessing as curses, even though they have so much magic to give us and others. There is duality to everything. I've literally been sitting here talking about duality about the astrology and me being in Christianity, the two dual truths. 2 different things, but they're all like so connected. But for me, like, I feel like the negative thing I've been, like, my dad was like kind of making me feel like it was a curse of being someone who was multifaceted. Even before I started pressing record on this, I was on TikTok searching up other multifaceted women and seeing their stories, because like I just needed to be reassured that, like, you know, I can still live a good life and have and be who I am without having to niche it down. You know what I'm saying? These people have built a life around only focusing on one thing. It's kind of like this rigid way of thinking, you know? And I understand, like, focusing in on one thing is great, but there are ways to, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of make it happen, you know? If that makes sense. And for me, like, being multifaceted isn't a flaw. Me speaking using my voice and speaking up and just expressing myself isn't a flaw. Like, me being bubbly, being someone who loves joy, you know, like, I literally had an experience where I should have known that girl was jealous as fuck when she was like, why are you laughing? Like, people would just like be upset just all based off me just coming into work smiling like it's a problem. Like bitch, how dare you be happy? Like, damn, like, bitch can't be happy. And so it came all these attempts to try to like make me feel bad about myself. But then you're trying to do it to a person who understands that her happiness is in her own hands. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what, bitch, I'm gonna start walking dogs on my lunch break, bitch. And like, that's the time I got to myself, and I can be happy and I can be friendly and you know? So whatever. It's just, I'm just no longer being put in a place. Like, I think I said this before, but I literally had a family member tell me, like, you know, we're talking about ADHD and autism or whatever. We were joking about being on the spectrum, and she was like, I'm better at hiding mine than you are. And at first I was like, what? But at the same time, it's not a bad thing, because I'm not confined by this, like, another girl on TikTok said that. She's like, you're not confined by this, like, era, this aesthetic. Like, you're just, like, and this is why I love Doja Cat so bad, bro. I'm so sorry. And people wonder why they don't, like, last long, or they have people get bored of them, or, you know, they start critiquing them, like, change something up. You know what I'm saying? Because I love Doja Cat down, right? Because of how, like, you can just see her evolution jump, like, from Moo to where she is now, bitch. That's like, she's been through like 7 different versions of herself since then. That shit is like, I love that. And she, like, her music, like, so many genres. Same thing with Beyonce. Like, it's just so many different, like, so versatile. You know what I mean? And I love that shit, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? And I love that. I love Doja real bad. But it's just like, and I'm not even gonna say, like, because there are other people in the industry that are like, in the music industry that are like, you know, versatile, but I feel like I haven't really seen anyone else, because I've been into rap since I was like 12. I haven't really encountered anyone else that on that scale that she's on, and I feel like she's taking it to a different level. I haven't really witnessed somebody like be so dedicated to changing like eras, or changing, like, evolving into someone, like, into a new version of themselves so rapidly. You know what I'm saying? Because you have people, like, they may have a different era, a different persona, but it's like, it's still the same across the board, if that makes sense. I feel like with Doja, like, every version of Doja is the whole different, like, person. And it's just, it's evolution, but at the same time, it's just like, this bitch has been killing it. Like, I don't know. That's why I admire the most about her. You know, she doesn't give a fuck, bro. Anyways, number 8. I'm not underestimating my own magic anymore. Power, beginnings, transformation. What a beautiful segue. Because I'm thinking of Doja Cat at the same time. This is gonna be a long video. But, hold on. Doja Cat. I'm looking for number 8, not Doja Cat. Alright, it says, the affirmation spell, I trust in the magic and power within me. If you have pulled this card, you are entering a power and pivotal era in your life. Royal energy of the Queen and King. Your highest self is so proud of you. You are undergoing a spiritual and a psychological transformation after a journey of obstacles. Though it may feel new and unfamiliar, it is a potent place for you to grow, take action, and trust yourself more than you ever have before. Do you see how beautiful that sunrise is? It brings with it so many possibilities, adventures, and excitement. Be brave. Try something new. You got this. Stop feeding the demon of doubt in your head. Instead, give it love and watch it turn into an angel. It's okay to hit a learning curve. It's okay to make mistakes, especially when you accept accountability for them and try to do better next time while giving yourself more grace, compassion, and forgiveness. You're not going to get it all right or perfect, and you're not supposed to. You're meant to live life the fullest and truest expression of yourself. You're meant to feel fully alive. Take the higher path you feel called to. You are the hero of the story, and it's time to stop estimating how powerful you are. You are capable of so much. You can be a fair and balanced ruler in your life, in your own life. All the spiritual guidance you need is within you. Okay, your connection with your own magic and with spirit is very strong, especially at this point in your journey. Remember to trust yourself. You more than anybody know where to go next. You more than anybody know where to go next, even if it's just to a place of peace and contentment in your psyche. That is also a path. And if you're coming from turbulence, that is more than enough. Sometimes the journey can only be walked from within. Go to that next place. Do the next thing. It's time. Okay, it says take action and try new things. Even baby steps are better than nothing. Practice being brave, allowing yourself to make mistakes. But more than anything, walk that higher path. Your higher self is watching and guiding you. Light a candle for them. See connection, communication on your own journey. They are always within you. They are you. They are you. And it's just like basically what this whole ramble was about. You know, like I'm just at a place where I kind of like talk myself up to it too. Like I'm just at a place where like, bro, I can't have other people agree with me. I can't feel bad about who I am. You know, it's just not getting me anywhere. It never got me really anywhere, you know, and I just have to trust what I know, you know, because I've, you know, and the thing what would get me too is that when I may have done this to other people, like when I would be expressing to them a certain belief, or we kind of like butt heads because our belief system would be like slightly different, there would be this expression of frustration of like, well, you know, I don't know how to help you, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, they can only guide me based off their own like self, like what they've already been through, what they've seen, and where they like are currently. It's kind of like we can only see, no one can see as far as we can for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Some people can see as far or doing something better or something, but no one can really see like who we are farther than like anyone else outside of God, basically. So yeah, that shit was on par. And bro, when I said like after I had to cut off so many people, I just had to leave some certain people behind because I just didn't trust anybody after that last shit. Like my readings have been hitting hard. Not gonna lie to you. Cause them 2 cards coming out after I'm sitting here rambling, like how on par is that shit? Like I be getting hyped up off of that shit. Like, bitch, I be right. So I'm definitely posting this shit because I had something to say and I guess I have to post it. So, and you know, like fuck the perfection, because it's like I was stressing over my hair. I was stressing over just, you know, oh, should I put on some makeup or like, you know, like whatever insecurities, whatever, like nigga, whatever, like no one cares. Like I was in the rain. So, well, okay, so I'm leaving, but if you want to subscribe to this channel, my name is Interstellix. I have a lot more coming. I have a shop called Intuitive Royalty. I do offer readings. If you want to know what this deck is, if you do your on your own readings, whatever, Magical Spirit Oracle. And this is why I love it the most, because inside the box it always says trust yourself. This is the main goal of this deck, and I like it's doing its job so well. You know, and it's like very key deck to my transformation and my like spiritual like evolution, I guess. But please subscribe, subscribe. I know this may be a long video, but it's only meant for those who genuinely understand where I'm trying to come from. I used the queen and the king and the royal shit, and then the fucking card came out with the king and the queen, and I'm like, god damn, okay, all right. And like I'll be happy. I'll be like, this is about my music, and like when I be doing shit, and when I be like doing some shit with like when I do a good facial or something, That's what it's all about, bro. If your work doesn't light you up, you're not supposed to be doing it. Like, if it doesn't light you up like that, like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing it. And another thing too, like, last thing, because it's like, you know how we're afraid to post things because certain people follow us, whatever. But it's like, I genuinely don't care who follows me, who from my current reality sees me, who, I don't care about any of that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, who are you? You know? And at the same time, it's just like, I'm doing something that you feel you can't. If you're judging me for it, at least, you know? I don't have to, like, I just don't have to do, you know, that another Doja Cat fucking, like, was Paint the Town Red? She's like, I don't need a big feature. I don't need a new. I don't need a big feature or a new sidekick. I don't need to wear a wig to make you like it. Like it's kind of like this whole, like, that whole album, bro. It's just like this entire, like, statement of, like, I don't need fame, or I don't need people to accept me for who the fuck I am anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need people to validate who the fuck I am. Because it's like, it's not saying that I ever needed it. It's like, I got to that place because I had experienced so much rejection. And it's like, you get to this point where you're just like, but why the fuck? I'm literally not trying to, you know, I don't, you know, people just put all this shit on you. And you're just like, but what the fuck? Like, that's not who I am. And I'll be trying to, like, fix that, you know, so much. And that shit was so fucking exhausting. And it's just like, you know what? People don't accept you. They're not supposed to. People think you whatever. People think you uppity, you this and that. Let them. Bitch, I guess I am. You know, it's just like, I just can't. I can't exhaust myself trying to prove someone wrong, you know? Or trying to convince someone otherwise. But anyways, it's about to hit an hour. I already got like another 80 minutes to edit. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know where you at in your journey beneath me in the comments or whatever on TikTok. I'm posting this wherever I can. And fuck with me. I don't know.